Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of She Plays Games, and Happy New Year! I hope you all had a great time this holiday season. I myself had a lovely rest full of food and family, but I'm so thankful to now be back in my routine again, and here for you, I have our first lovely lady this year, Kelsey Christou. Kelsey and I go way back to the time of ye old Twitter. She has worked her way up into the industry and is now the EMEA Events Marketing Manager for Twitch. In our chat, we discuss how she got into the industry through video games journalism and how her transferable skills have helped her to get to her current role. I really hope you enjoyed Kelsey's story, and if you enjoy what I do, please do consider taking the time to rate my show and subscribe on iTunes. Since I started the show, I've had loads of positive feedback from people in the industry, and it would be great to see this reflected on some platforms so that I can continue to spread the message more effectively as we build out this year. This is episode 11 of She Plays Games. Hey Kelsey, welcome to the show. It's so great to have you on.
Hey Lauren, thanks for having me.
So, when we both got started in the gaming industry, I think it was pretty much around the same time, wasn't it? It was like 2010, 2011 or so. I can't necessarily remember how we actually met. I feel like it was over Twitter.
Yeah, I think it was over Twitter. I actually made a lot of my connections in the gaming industry through Twitter at the start. But I definitely remember going to a couple of PR events with your boyfriend.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because the one that sticks out to me the most was for a Japanese horse riding game.
Yeah. Was it was it It wasn't Champion Jockey. It was, yeah.
I might be making this up because my mind plays tricks on me, but I'm sure it was like Wii controlled and you had to do the whole jockey motion where you're like pretending to sit on a horse, which is instantly why I started laughing, remembering that.
I know. Oh, that game. Yeah, no. Because like that was the thing. By proxy, I would get to see all of the games that Daryl was sort of going through at the time, and that was an interesting time. But for some reason, I remember, I think the first time I saw you in person, I think it might have been, I want to say it was like a Namco Bandai event. This was like absolutely ages ago, but I seem to remember there was a party where like we were in a basement somewhere in London and there was bumper cars.
Oh,
do you remember that place?
I
can't remember what it was.
Namco Funscape.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. I just remember us being really excited about the bump cars. And then there was like bowling and that was amazing.
So you started off with like a basement party. I'm like, yeah, you've just described most of my 20s. But when you lean into the bumper cars, I was like, oh wait, I remember now. That's fine.
I figured the bumper cars would be the good context. Because it's not every day that you have a party with bumper cars.
I mean, if I had the money, I would always have bumper cars, but...
Oh, could you imagine? That would be amazing. But yeah, I think at the time you were working with Daily Joypad, right?
Yeah, so I was doing some features for them, which was really nice because there was like no pressure on me to kind of produce content, like a newsletter would have to do where they've got a stun beat constantly. It was just as and when I would have like a bright spark. And I'd get to write it down and I'd put it up on the website. So that was like a really nice thing for me to do. I remember writing my favorite piece ever, I think, was about, this was before Fallout 4 came out. Well, obviously it was years ago. But I wrote a piece about what I would love to see if Fallout ever took place in the UK. And I remember writing that. And I still to this day would love a Fallout in the UK. Although, when you think about the science part of it, if there was a nuclear war, let's be honest, the UK probably wouldn't be around, but
Oh, bless her. I know.
yeah. I mean, it's a video game though, so, it's not that accurate.
Yeah.
But
We could do it. Like, take liberties with with the creativity side.
for sure.
But that would be cool. That would be really, really awesome, actually.
Yeah, could you imagine?
It's so American focused, isn't it? Fallout.
Yes. I mean, it makes sense.
I know. It like I think it's because there's so many places in America already that are like really sort of barren, like that sort of wasteland vibe as well. And like it's so easy. Like Darren and I talk about this a lot where it's so oddly easy for there to be places in America where you just don't go. You just like know that they are no spots that are either condemned or there's just like something weird going on. Like I think there's some places where you literally go in and you are not allowed to leave, like in America. And I just can't imagine that existing in the UK. Like,
Yeah.
unless there was a nuclear waste thing. But that's the only reason why I would like think, I can see why America would be the setting for a lot of this stuff because we got a lot of interesting people.
Well, now you've said that, I'm thinking, Dubai, they have the influx of people getting rich. And have you seen it where there's just cars left on the side because they can't afford the payments anymore?
Oh my God, that's just so devastating, isn't it?
Yeah. So Bethesda, Fallout Dubai, I've given you that idea. I think it would work.
Yeah, and I totally want to scale that big building. Oh, what is it called?
Oh, I have no idea. I
can't remember what it's called.
Center with an aquarium in it.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome though, because like you get to go inside all of those really, really rich buildings, like, and just poke around. Oh, that would be really cool, actually. Yeah,
it could actually be quite terrifying as well, though.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. But either way, so with the Daily Joy Pad, getting back to that.
Yeah.
So how did you originally like get involved with the website?
I actually started off making my own YouTube videos. I am going to have to double check after this podcast that channel is completely shut down because, I really hope it is.
Oh, bless it.
It was called The Unicorn Gamer. So it was kind of like a mixture of mainly just reviews that I record myself. I have very limited editing skills. I still do, to be honest. I don't know how to edit to save my life. So I was just doing that. And I kind of wanted to get more involved in the gaming industry. And I mentioned earlier about Twitter. And that is actually how I met quite a lot of people, really. So I followed a few people who are in the gaming industry and we just got chatting. It's like quite a nice community. And I was like, here's some features that I've been writing. Does anyone want them? And that's how we struck a relationship up, myself and the Daily Joy Pad.
Oh, that's so cool. Thinking about how we sort of got started up, like, I mean, I guess it could still happen now, but like so many of the mom and pop publications, like where we were with Gaming Union, like it's just, they just don't exist as much anymore, do they?
Well, it's not even just the mom and pop. You'd think of some of the big specialist sites, like CBG went down. That was a huge one. A lot of the print publications that no longer exist. The official Nintendo magazine was one that broke my heart.
Yeah.
So the whole landscape of gaming is changing. And it's like, for me, working at Twitch, where, I personally think this is where the future is going. It's super exciting, but it is kind of quite sad.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We're just going through another transition. Everything goes through it, movies, music, everything has a transitional period. But it is nice to sort of revisit that time of just like going to events and reviewing games and doing previews and writing up features. It was so much fun.
EGX when it was at Earl's Court.
Yeah, that was ages ago. That's so good.
I can't believe it's moved away and come back to London. That's
I know.
How long it's been.
I know. I was even talking to Daryl like the other day. I was like, "Oh, we should totally, hit up EGX this year." And he was just like, "Well, where is it?" And I was just like, "Well, it's back in London." No, it's like, "Yeah, it is." But yeah, I mean, so with that in mind, like, what did you enjoy the most about your sort of journalistic side?
So I think this is actually a really tough question. because I don't think I was a journalist in kind of like the typical sense. I was
Sure.
very lucky in the fact that I got to pretty much go to preview events and the fun stuff. I think a lot of people who do video games journalism have to do news, which is super hard to do. And to be good at it, you have to be really on the ball and have a good talent for it. I just definitely don't have that sort of talent. But yeah, I think for me, my favorite part is always going to be events. I think that's kind of obvious by the fact that I ended up in events.
Yeah, but they were really fun.
Yes, for sure.
You can't knock a good game event.
Yeah, and it's a great experience. And there's people like yourself, Debbie Timmons, Sven, he does the Sonic stuff.
Yeah, he's at IGN now, I think.
Yeah, I was like, because he was at a different website that also went down. But yeah, there's just so many people who I've known for years now through that. But that's why I know you mentioned EGX. It's why I don't go anymore. It's because my friends aren't going, like my old community. And for me, that was a bigger part of going to the event rather than, because I'd go, let's be honest, I wouldn't really play the games because if you're writing about them, you've probably seen them already.
Yeah.
It was purely for the people that I went.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, as much as I want to say, like, yeah, like, let's go play the demos again. But yeah, like when you're in this sort of industry, you're playing them. Like, that's just a lot. But were you always planning to venture into PR afterwards, or did the opportunity just like present to itself?
I had never planned to go into PR. So when I was doing video games journalism for Daily Joypad, I was actually a corporate receptionist, and I kind of had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. But if anyone's ever been a receptionist, especially corporate, where it's like 8 till 6, wearing heels all day, it kind of sucks. So I got to the point where I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I had to get out because I was miserable. So I started thinking, what can I do? And my friend Colette was working for Lick, which is a PR agency at the time, and she seemed to really enjoy her job. So I was like, well, that sounds like something that's really cool. And I've worked with a few publicists, so I thought, do you know what, I'm going to try and get into this. And I am in the super, super, super privileged position where my parents live in London, and at the time I was living with them. And I turned around to them and I was like, Mum, Dad, I'm super miserable at work. Are you okay if I try and pursue an internship? Which I know most of the internships now are unpaid, but back then they definitely weren't paid.
Yeah.
And they were very supportive of it. They was like, yeah, I'll get your foot in the door sort of thing. So I contacted a few of the publicists who I'd met at events through the journalism. So great connection there. And that's when I interviewed for Premiere. And Simon Byron, who hired me at the time, turned around and was like, oh, yeah, we don't really like interns here. And I was just like, great, why am I here then? Thanks for that.
Thanks.
And he was like, would you like a junior publicist job? And I was like, what? Yeah, of course. I get paid for this. So yeah, I feel I understand that's like a really privileged story and like lots of luck, but that's how I ended up in PR.
Parents are very, very, very important in this sort of time for kids. Like, it's hard to be in your 20s and to find what you want to do. It's hard to be like in your teens to decide what to do if you want to go to university. Like, it's super complicated, and having parents who can both offer help and who are supportive for their kids' future career, it's just, it really is important. Like, trust that your kid is not just being just being a lay waste. Like, it's so important that your kid knows where they're going to go and that they know that you have their back.
Yeah, I'm like eternally grateful to my parents. Even to this day, I think if I decided that I wanted to quit everything and move back home, they'd be like, okay, Len. I'm not quite as cheery as that. They'd be like, what the hell are you doing? I think their general philosophy is like, as long as I'm working, they kind of see the value in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so especially as a teenager, like I didn't go to university because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I also actually suffered really bad anxiety. So when I was like 17, I couldn't really leave the house, which kind of like meant university was out of the picture. So this is something that I really want to try and stress to young people. Like my cousin is 15, and they're already like, what do you want to do at university? What are you going to do when you get a job? Blah, blah, blah. It's like university is not the only option, and you need to like really explore your options.
That's incredible that you've come from being in your house stricken with horrible anxiety. Like I commend you completely for getting through that. Like that is so hard.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's taken a long time. So 17, I was 13 years ago now.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't as spoken about as it was now. And I've only recently started talking about it more openly because it's quite a hard subject. But this is another thing. I'm like, university isn't for everyone, and mental health is important. And luckily, they're both subjects that are getting traction at the minute. But yeah, they're very important messages to share.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, completely agree. And then, so when you did get your job at Premiere, which is amazing, did you already have like sort of an idea of what it entailed, or was it different from what you imagined it was going to be?
I think I had a decent idea going in, what it would be like. There was definitely some points like you do a lot of admin work, which I feel like every job you'll glamorize and always forget like the nitty gritty parts that keep it going. I definitely didn't imagine doing as many coverage reports as I did. But yeah, I think it's always hard to think. People think PR is very glamorous and that they're literally just doing all these fabulous things all the time. There is like a lot of work that goes into PR. I always say it was very grueling, but I really enjoyed PR, and I feel like I was good at it, which kind of surprised me, because I didn't know where I wanted to be, and then to find a job that I enjoyed and I thought I was good at and that I progressed through, I was very pleased with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, the amount of emails I get from PR people on my gamingunion.net, like, I mean, the fact that some of them are like essays full of information as well that somebody's had to type up, namely PR people. It's almost like that sort of thankless part of the job where it's just like, somebody has to take the time in order to put all that together and to send it to you. And like without it, we just wouldn't get the information. We wouldn't get the images, the really, really pretty high res version of the images. And
yes, for sure. You end up growing quite a thick skin as well, because as you
oh
said,
my God.
You receive a lot of emails from PR.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll just be like, take me off this list. And it's like, cool story.
Yeah.
When I was in PR, I mean, I assume it's still a thing that you have to call up journalists to try and get coverage. I mean, what with
GDPR, yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah,
also
I would think so.
Our office at Twitch doesn't even have phones, whereas when I was doing PR, we all had a phone on our desk. So I don't know what regular offices are like anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of essentially cold calling, even though you knew the journalist be like, please publish my story.
Yeah, please write about this, please. I know it's very small, but please. But yeah, I mean, did you have like specific types of games that you had to cover at Premiere?
No, so Premiere is an agency, and when you're agency based, you have a lot of different clients that you'll work with. So I worked with a ton over my 4 years there, from Pokemon, which I think if anyone knows me in real life, I'm a massive Pokemon fan, so that was a joy. Warner Brothers was another great account, 2K, but I also did a lot of smaller indie games, mobile games. I worked on King, who are the creators of Candy Crush, when that was having its moment. So it was
That's quite exciting.
That was insane, because when a company suddenly explodes like that, they're not really sure what to do. And you've just got to kind of ride the wave, and it was really exciting times.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, to work on something that you love, like Pokemon, must have just been, really, really surreal.
Yes, definitely. Especially when it came out to send in the Christmas gifts, which were like the limited edition Pikachu plushes, and you'd always get one left over for yourself. It was the best.
It's like, don't mind this one.
Yeah.
This one doesn't exist.
I know, it was like Pokemon, like, here you go, here's your Christmas gift. It's like, yeah, I get to keep one.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice though. And then like with that in mind, were there any campaigns or initiatives in particular that you were like really proud of or stood out?
So one campaign that I absolutely loved working on is the BAFTA Young Game Designer Award. If you haven't heard of it, it's a really great initiative that it's a competition. I think it was for 13 and 16-year-olds. There's two different age levels. And you design a video game and you get to work with BAFTA to make it if you win. And there's a whole scholarship system involved in everything. And I was just such a strong believer in it. The video games industry in the UK brings in so much money. I can't remember the exact figures, but it now brings in more than films. And we have so many studios in the UK. A lot of people don't realize that. But it was slightly heartbreaking to work on as well, because I would have to try and sell it into educational press. And so I'd be picking up the phone, and these were like journalists that I don't know. And as they said hello, I can hear that you are in your 60s, you're white, and you're an ex headmaster of a school. And as soon as you mentioned video games, they'd be like, no, I'm not interested. Bye.
Yeah.
Not like that. They'd be like, no, not interested. Goodbye.
Yeah. The very English way. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Even though it was backed by such a prestigious company as BAFTA, they hear video games, they just kind of shut down. And for me, that was kind of a bit heartbreaking, because, you know, it's not encouraging to the younger generation. And especially like the fact they're not willing to talk about an industry that is worth so much money. It's so closed-minded. And it was a bit just, times like that, when you really care about something, you're not getting the results that you know it deserves, can be a bit like disheartening.
I mean, like, there's so much that we still need to grow within the industry, and we can't necessarily do it without getting more members. And thankfully, like, sort of the younger community is growing and growing every day. But yeah, I mean, it's really hard to open the minds of people who are sort of that age. Well, even like people in their 40s, I find it difficult sometimes to get them to see, like, video games are different. Like, you know, I mean, they were great way back when. They were like, Mario is still a lot of fun, whatever. But like, I mean, the fact that there's so many stories now, and there's so many really cool stories that you hear about people who created a game in their room, like a mobile title, and they have such great creative minds, and they have the opportunity to create their own games now, whereas it used to just be these really big developers. Yeah, I don't know what else we can do to...
Yeah. Well, to me, the saddest part is, you mentioned like people in their 40s, even like my mum who's in her 50s, she'll be like, oh, I'm not a gamer. I'm like, well, you play Candy Crush on your phone, don't you? And she's like, well, yeah. It's like, oh, cool. Because you know that's a game, right? It's just, you know.
I know.
So I don't know.
Why I do love my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law is like, she's really, really, really open-minded to video games. Like, seriously, I think she sat down and Daryl played Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy VIII for her, which are not short games. they're like, you know, you could spend like about 60 hours, but she sat down and watched them because she doesn't trust herself to play them herself. She doesn't really know how to play them, but she really loves them. She really does love watching people play games.
And that sounds like a great bonding experience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Daryl was really lucky to have her. And I think my kids as well are really lucky to have her as a grandma, because she is open-minded to that kind of stuff, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, my parents are very open-minded, which is great, but they don't necessarily understand it.
No.
So my parents are both very proud of me, but my dad just doesn't have a clue what I do. But one day recently, I got to work with Dele Alli on a charity event.
Yeah.
And Dele Alli, for anyone who doesn't know, because I didn't until I worked with him, is a Spurs football player. And obviously my dad being a Spurs fan, he's never been prouder of me. He was like, oh, cool, I know what you do now. I was like, okay, Dad, thanks.
All it took was this moment.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's so cute. But yeah, so I mean, after 3 years at Premiere, you left to join Twitch. What drove you to that decision? Like,
I was totally happy at Premiere. I wasn't looking for a job or anything. I had just been promoted from publicist to senior publicist, and was trying to work my way to account director, which I think would have happened. But I saw on my friend Chris Thomas, who is another friend through Twitter, who is one of the original, I'm going to say an OG because they are to me. He was one of the, I think, number 10 employee for Twitch in Europe.
Yeah.
And he posted a job posting on his Facebook page for the event manager position. And I clicked it. And you know, when you read something and you're like, wow, this sounds incredible, because it was like really glamorous, full of traveling. And Twitch at the time was like the total darling of the games industry. Everyone wanted to be on Twitch. And I was just like, this sounds amazing. But my job is PR, not events. And I was just like, I don't think I can do this. But I kept reading the job spec, and every like line of the description, I was like, well, I've done a bit of this in PR, and I've definitely done this, and I've done this, just not in that capacity. But I thought, you know what, I have to apply for this, because if I don't, I'm going to kick myself.
Yeah.
So I went for it, and you know, I kind of got the job, which is awesome.
That's amazing.
It definitely shows. Always like take a chance, because you know, if you don't, no one else is going to. And your skills are always transferable. So that's something I found throughout my whole career. With the journalism, I would be writing features. That translates really nicely into writing press releases for PR. And then from PR, when you'd be at events, talking to people, listening to interviews, everything like that. Once again, these are skills you can use that I've taken on to be events now. So for me, this is very like how you spin things, but also just think of how your skills are transferable.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I mean, that's something that they try to sort of pound down your throat when you have like university and stuff breathing down your neck, like saying like making you a broader student, but you can just be a broader person in your career. And I think that's extremely important, is like being that sort of go with the flow type person, you know, because like just building yourself through your career will get you to where you want to go.
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's worked for me being quite free flowing. I know for others, they definitely have a routine and where they want to be in a certain amount of time.
Which is also fine.
Yeah, I mean, 100% do it your way. But I know that structure for me, with the anxiety, if I'm not hitting certain points that I've set myself, that's going to send me spiraling. So I always aim to be progressing in my career, but it doesn't always necessarily mean, you know, jumping from job to job sort of thing. My main aim in a career is, one, to do well and smash it, but two, to be like enjoying what I do, because you're at work. It feels like 90% of the time I'm at work. And if I didn't enjoy it, that would be like a really awful life.
Exactly. I mean, to a degree, I have a sort of similar thing, in the sense that like I was doing acting and doing that between doing podcasting and then doing like content creating now for YouTube. Finding those transferable skills, that is the sweet thing that you just have to. I mean, sometimes hindsight is better than foresight, isn't it? Where you just sort of think, oh my God, that actually did really help me, didn't it? Like there are times where I curse the fact that I chose to go into acting, but then I just sort of think like, well, if I didn't do that, then like I wouldn't have had the confidence here, or I wouldn't be able to say this here, and I wouldn't have read that. And I think that's really, that's great.
I mean, for younger people as well, my first job ever was working in sales for Lush, as in like selling the product. Even that, every job has its skills that you can take elsewhere, you know. Exactly. I will sell you a bar of soap. If I can sell you a bar of soap, I can sell you a story about a game that you're going to write about. Do you know where I'm going with this? Like,
you know what? You can sell me anything from Lush.
Yeah.
You can sell me anything, because that store smells like freaking heaven.
I did enjoy my time there.
But yeah, from what I can see, your role at Twitch is really like hands-on. I mean, how do you manage it all, especially with the traveling? Like, do you still find time for games?
Yeah, so I go through phases with games. I have done since I was in PR. I think when you work with something, you tend to end up enjoying it a little bit less. I used to love the Lego games so much.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, but they are one of the franchises that I worked on in PR, and I had to demo the same level over and over
Oh
and over again.
no.
And it just meant when I played it for myself, once I got to that level, I was like, no, I'm done.
Just can't do it that one more time. No.
Pretty much that. So now I rely heavily on my Switch because the games are light and it's handheld. I'm a very big Nintendo fangirl.
Yeah.
And I think the Switch is a freaking amazing console. So I like to kind of chill out in front of the TV and play whatever is on. I'm also a big Hearthstone fan because if you can't see the pattern here, it's things that I can play on the go whilst watching TV, things that don't require too much brain power. I haven't had like a really big meaty sandbox game recently, which is kind of disappointing. But
it's really hard though. Like even now, I mean, I'm trying to play The Outer Worlds and like I find that there's a couple weeks will go by and I haven't even picked it up at all. And I'm just like, why? Why am I not playing it? But it's still good. But no, I can totally see why. That's why like because Planet Zoo is on my computer while I'm editing like video and stuff, I just pull that up every now and then and I'm just like, all right, I'll feed the animals.
So easy as well. Like you don't have to think too much.
Yeah.
I mean, I picked up Outer Worlds thinking it was going to be the game that gets me back into it because, you know, Obsidian, big fan. But I started playing it on my PlayStation. And the first thing I noticed was that I couldn't read any of the writing because it was so small.
Oh, no. So, I hate that.
I know. I was like, oh, my God, am I getting really old? And so I was like, no, they just didn't like
optimize
it was made for PC. Yeah. So that kind of that hit the burner burner quickly.
That would do it.
But in terms of kind of being very hands-on, keeping organized with work, events have a lot of moving parts. And obviously when you're away for a lot of time, things like laundry and housekeeping kind of take a back step. You don't keep on top of them. So I'm a very big fan of bullet journaling. I just had to really get bullet journaling into this podcast episode. That's how much I love it. Oh my gosh,
you do. Just because, like, seriously, guys, if you see her journals, they are so beautiful.
Thank you. Just like on a Sunday, I will sit down, I will draw out my weekly plan. So I'm like a big fan of click through and everything. It just helps me relax, but also make sure that I'm thinking about the week ahead and what needs to be done. And I've found that a great tool in both my work and personal life.
Yeah, I need to get up on that. Like I've been trying, but I've just not. I think that's the thing because you have like a set day that you do it, don't you?
Yep, Sunday. After my Sunday lunch at my grandparents', I will come back in the evening and watch something really trashy and plan my week ahead.
So good. So getting kind of back in time, you did mention Colette, which is amazing because, she's another person that I know through PR as well, actually. Yes. Through Lunch PR. We did like some work with them with gamingunion.net. And you formed like a really great bond with her within the industry. I was wondering if, do you feel as though this kind of connection is really important for women in the gaming industry?
Yes, 100%. So Colette is a very, very good friend and she has been for years now. We've been to each other's weddings and we talk pretty much every day. The thing with Colette that really set us apart is we was doing pretty much the same job, just at different agencies. So we was able to have that connection of, you know, sometimes you have to vent and I could vent to her and she would totally get it because she's been through it all before. But even besides that, I think it's super important to have friends within the industry, especially if you are female in gaming or a gender minority in gaming. I think joining networks, there's quite a few out there now designed specifically for those groups, is really important. I'm a big believer in networking for your career as it is. It's always great to be able to have someone to go to if you have a question, but also a strong network is just going to help you in life, I think. Like, it's so nice to have people to talk to, especially if they have similar interests to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And like with gaming, it's the thing. Like I live in a town where there's like at least like 20,000 of us or whatever. And like, I don't really know that many people around here that are into games, you know, like my pool of people outside of obviously Daryl, like the amount of people who are actually like into games is so small. Whereas like the gaming industry and online, like it's amazing. Everybody's right there and they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well. When you get older, it's harder to make friends. So it's great to go for ones where you've already got that instant connection of gaming.
Gamers stick together.
Yes, for sure. But career-wise, it's always good to have a network.
Yeah, absolutely. And given your path through the industry, I mean, we've pretty much covered this anyway, but like, what advice would you give to someone looking in from the outside who is just starting now and might not know how they might fit in?
I would say it's going to be a bit of trial and error. There are a lot of entry-level jobs out there, such as assistant publicists, interns, gaming testers, and you have to be willing to work your way from the bottom up. I hear a lot of people who come out of either fresh from university or they decide to change jobs and they kind of want to go in straight at kind of like a mid-tier level. You've got to play your dues, man. Like, that's just the way it is. You can't go in expecting the world. But if you're willing to work and put your time in, you should be able to grow and flourish. Like, the gaming industry is great and it's only going to get bigger. So it's a great time to join. It definitely seems like it's hard to get a job, but just, you know, keep at it. And whilst you're working on getting in the games industry, I always recommend having almost like a side job. So whether it's, you know, producing gaming videos on YouTube that show your editing skills, writing a personal blog that shows your communications and writing skills, it's all going to feed into basically an online portfolio that you can take to your job interview and be like, this is my skill set and how I've demonstrated it. And someone has got all that evidence right there in your favor.
And to close us out, what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about streaming but is a little bit scared to do so?
I mean, it's the same advice I think every streamer will give you, is just you've got to go for it. You're never going to get anywhere by not trying something. And streaming is all about enjoying yourself and having a good personality. So I think as long as you're, you know, a pretty decent person, which I think most of us are, just get on there. Like, Twitch has fantastic communities. So give it a go yourself, but also find other streamers you enjoy and interact with their communities and make some friends out of it. You know, it's probably the best part of streaming is the relationships you'll develop.
Yeah. I mean, the community building alone is just insane. It's so great.
Yeah. I love seeing that at events when we have a streamer who will be doing a meet and greet and all their fans come by, but they're just talking as if they know each other. And it's never like me and them sort of thing. It's like we're all in it together. It's just really nice.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kelsey. I'm sure that Twitch is just going to keep going from strength to strength. And you will no doubt be a key contributor in helping them drive that growth throughout Europe.
Thank you. And it's been great to be on this podcast.
That's it for this episode of She Plays Games. If you'd like to learn more about Kelsey, you can follow her on Twitter at KelseyLater. Also, if you want more episodes of She Plays Games, please be sure to subscribe and follow me on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube by searching She Plays Games, and on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at She Plays Podcast. If you want to be on the show or want to nominate someone to come on the show, you can email me at sheplayspodcast@gmail.com. That's it from me. See you guys next time on She Plays Games.